now it's time for our belt review. But before we do that, we're going to discuss the exam. Okay, so let's get started, everyone. We're going to discuss the exam and then do some belt review. Okay, so in order to take the exam, you have to have 90% of all core assignments complete. So that means for WebFund, that's all 7. Make sure that you don't have any assignments missing that you find out Wednesday morning that you had not completed, that you may have skipped. So the way that you can check your assignments is by going to the platform, scroll to the top, assignment checklist. That will give you a view of the assignments that you have left. I can't see it here because I don't have any assignments, but that's how you'll see what remaining core assignments you have to turn in. Okay. So have to have all 7 complete and have done a code review. We'll have those open today as well, starting at 3 and then at 4 after the belt review in the afternoon. Okay, so here's what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., we're not going to do an algo in the morning. I'll send a message with exam instructions and the exam code. So this instructions will include what we're discussing here. So myself and Vincent and David maybe there. We'll be in the Zoom room as usual. So please ask for help if you have any, if you're able to show up early, if you need help with understanding anything related to the assignments. Before that time, you have the Zoom office hour that you can go to see a TA from 8 to 9, and then after from, what's the time schedule? 2 to 7 Mountain Time. So do all the review that you can if you need it. And today we're going to do the final prep for the exam, as I've stated. So it's going to be a bit of review. So tomorrow, get some rest. Don't stay up late finishing your assignments until like midnight if you're late on those assignments, and then expect to do well. Get some rest. Get some food in you, coffee, whatever you need. Set up your exam folder then also. Remember how we can make a JavaScript, CSS, and HTML page all connected without having to know what our assignment is? That's what we're going to be. Let's see if I can give a demo of that. No, we know what that looks like. Create a folder for the project, for the test, and you are going to then use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Connect them together. It takes a couple minutes, but it shaves off that time that you'd be taking in the exam. So set that up, get that ready. And by the way, you cannot push the exam to GitHub. Okay, so don't do that. Because that code should be reserved for other future students. And you can't share the exam amongst yourselves. So don't push your code to GitHub. Be careful with that. I think I'll probably read that later, but just thought I'd mention it now. Okay, so I will give you guys a code, and the code will let you unlock the exam. The way you unlock the exam is by going to this section at the top here that says Take Exams. Then you'll enter the code here, and then when you click here, Unlock and Start Exam, your timer will start. You'll unlock the exam and your timer will start, just like we did in Programming Basics. Then you'll get the instructions you need for the exam. All right, and so you can start the moment I give you the code, but don't start any later than 10. You have a little bit of time right before submitting the code into here to take it, but no later than 10. And if you start unreasonably late, like 11:30, that's a failure. So don't start the exam with that exam code more than an hour after I give it to you. Now, the exam is 5 hours long. So you have a 5 hour long test. There's going to be a timer there for you on the browser, but you set your own timer so that you can remind yourself at what point, when you're halfway, when you're a quarter of the way, when you have just a few minutes left, because I've seen a few students complete their test and then not be able to submit it because they missed that timer. Fortunately, they have to take it again, and it's a bother. So try to pass it first time, set a timer though, so that you don't miss that submission, okay? So you have 5 hours to zip up your exam and submit it. So have in mind those steps as well, too. You must stay on the Zoom call for the entire time you are taking the exam. And you will be in your own private breakout room, just like when we did the programming basics exam. Own private breakout room. If you need help in a breakout room, you'll have to ask for help through the Discord channel. You won't need your camera on, you won't need to have screen share on, and you won't need to have a recording of you taking the test. That's not necessary. Just take the test in the Zoom room by yourself, and don't let anyone in your room, and don't go in anyone else's room while you're taking the test. If you need attention, you have to ask for help through the Discord channel for us. Otherwise, it's going to look suspicious if while you're in the middle of the exam, you're jumping to another room, even if it's to our office room to ask for help. Don't do that. It's kind of annoying. Just ask for help through Discord. All right. So, attendance. On the exam day, there will be no afternoon session. So the exam is just the time, the whole day is just dedicated to the exam. If you finish within an hour, you're good for the rest of the day. Okay, you don't have to make attendance for the rest of the day. For the non-exam takers, for those that have not finished their core assignments and you still need that day to catch up, you want to take it on Thursday or Friday, I'll post a Discord message for you to react for attendance for those afternoon sessions, since you're not taking the exam. So we will still count your attendance the regular way if you're not taking the exam, and we have to check that through Discord. All right, we'll have breakout rooms for you, and we'll check at the specified times that will tell you those days. So you still have to be present the whole day if you're not taking the exam. So there's no way out of tomorrow, either way. All right, so you are allowed 3 exam takes, and the last day to take the exam is actually not Friday. Okay, it's actually Wednesday of next week, but I don't want you guys to save your exam for the next week, because you're going to miss out on Thursday and Friday lectures, which are really interesting lectures, and you're going to miss out on project week, making your own project for your page, for your GitHub, for your portfolio, whatever it is, that project that you can make. You're going to miss on those days if you're studying for the exam, and you'll feel like you're falling behind. So try your best to complete your core assignments before Wednesday. Take it Wednesday. And if you have to do any retakes, try to do it before Friday. Now, if you have to do it next week and you feel like you need the weekend to catch up and study, then that's what you need. So we won't argue with you there, but I'm just putting this there as a goal. Okay, that's not the actual last day. Any questions so far before I move on? Nope. Okay, let's continue. All right, the exam will ask for a zip file submission and a video. You don't need to submit a video, okay? You don't need to submit a video. You just need to submit the zip file of the folder containing your HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and any images in an image folder in the file as well. Okay, we want to see that all zipped up. And here's a general statement about asking for help. Well, actually, I used to have this rule this way, that the timer was not going to determine if you pass or fail your test. That I may excuse it, but actually this is not so lenient for me anymore. I'm not able to do this. They're going to strictly they're becoming more strict, right? Policy is becoming more strict, so I cannot do this. Actually, I'll just go ahead and delete this. This is not true. So you do need to complete it within the allotted time. All grading is done live on Zoom. So first, submit your exam. When you're finished and when you're ready to be graded, let us know on Zoom. We'll grade your exam with you like we did in Programming Basics. Okay, so you'll type in a message in the Discord chat at me or and both Vincent, target us, and then say, I'm ready to be graded in room 123X, whatever you are in. Okay, when we go into your room, we'll do the grading. We'll go through the grading rubric with you, and the grading rubric is out of 10. Okay, so you need 8 out of 10 points to pass. We'll go over that right now, what each point is counted and how we are gonna mark your test. So we'll go over that in just a second, but you need an 8 out of 10 to pass. Points after 8 don't matter. We'll still grade you after 8 to see how you did. Always aim for a 10, don't aim for an 8. Okay, so if you have extra 30 minutes and you only did one JavaScript, and you think that you may have passed the HTML, CSS, but you don't know and you feel kind of okay, don't aim for an 8, aim for a 10. Use that remaining 30 minutes to try and do another JavaScript problem if there's time remaining, okay? So don't just give up within those 5 hours, as tired as you are. Remember, you're going to enter a 5-hour race tomorrow. You don't know how fast you'll do, if you're going to cut at the very end or end early, but use all the time that you can. Okay, so let's go over how we're going to grade your exam. You can see this yourself if you go to the JavaScript portion on the platform, and then you go to the yellow belt section. And then if you click yellow belt, you'll be able to see the grading rubric that Vincent, I, and possibly David, if he's there, are going to use. Okay, so here is the grading rubric. This is what we're going to use to weigh when we're grading your exam. So the first thing we're going to check is we're going to check that you validated your HTML code. So remember that validator. There's a link here provided in case you need to bookmark it. You're going to copy and paste your HTML into this area here, then click check. The errors will pop up if there are errors below, and you have to clear those errors. Is not just check to see if you have any, you have to clear them and show us that you have none. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to check to make sure you don't have any errors in your HTML. The next thing that we're going to check that all the files are in the proper format. So that means you have the right HTML, CSS, and JavaScript file, all in the same folder, that they're connected properly, that you have your images in your image folder. If you created your files correctly and you have them nicely organized in the right folder, we're just checking to see if you have all your files created and you have them, the image folder holding your images in one folder. So organization, really simple, right? You need this to do any project. Okay. So a unique folder for the test with the image folder in it and all the files necessary, HTML, JavaScript, CSS. That's another half point. Okay. And then a whole point is going to be my evaluation of your result. We're going to give you a wireframe. You're going to copy that wireframe, and there's going to be 3 JavaScript requirements on that wireframe. We're going to need to pass at least one of those JavaScript requirements. We'll go over that in a second. But I'm going to look at the overall quality of the page. I'm going to compare it to the example image that you're given in the test. And this is up to me, but we've been doing code reviews, and the purpose of the code review is so that you know how I make grade your representation of the wireframe, so that you see how I would evaluate it. Okay, the next thing we're going to check for whole point, we would check that the text in the page, the images, all the things that like we would see on the wireframe, that they are aligned in the right place. So did you write the right text? Did you put the images in the right place? This is kind of like the previous point grade, but now I'm just mostly checking to see the alignment of those things, those tags, the elements, that they're correct and they're aligned according to the detail we'd see. The next thing I'm going to check, and this is worth 1/4 of a point, is that you use the right tags for everything. Did you use a P tag for a paragraph, or did you use an H tag unnecessarily? Did you create a list where it was unnecessary, or a table where it was unnecessary, where you could have made divs? How did you use the tags when it came to creating elements on your HTML page? We're going to check for the different tags that you would have used.
I have a question about the tags. Is it mandatory to include a class called container, or can it just like go by another name?
It can go by another name as long as it's descriptive to what it's doing.
All right.
Yep. Okay, we're going to check that you use the proper tags when creating your HTML page. That's 1/4 of a point. And the next half point in the HTML portion of our check is going to be that we're going to check that you use the best practices for code readability, such as indentation or comments. So that means, did you properly divide your HTML page with comments like I've been recommending during the code reviews? Did you indent your HTML? Did you format your document so it's readable at all? So that's an easy right-click format document. For indentation and comments, you just have to leave comments for each of the major sections of the page, right? For the profile page, I said the major sections would have been the main div, the columns, the left and right column, the education section, the profile card, and the your connections and connections section. So that's about, what, 7 comments or 8. So write comments on your page to divide each section. Also, we want to see that in your CSS. So let's go ahead and go to the CSS portion of the grading. So we're going to check that the major components are appropriately positioned and placed in reference to other elements. So as I read through your CSS from top to bottom, am I seeing the CSS rules that you've applied in the same order that I would see the HTML tags that you created? I want to see them created on the same order and also with comments. So nicely position that with comments. And subsections are appropriately positioned within the reference to other elements. So if you use subsections, so like if you say, I want all the images in my nav bar, that rule, I don't want to see it way far away from where you originally targeted your nav bar in your CSS. So it has to, major sections and subsections should be in the proper order according to how your HTML is, and they should be together, organized according to their rule and how relevant they are. Also, comments as well. So keep comments in your CSS. I like to see that. All right.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So let's say on like that we have icons that are all supposed to be equal size, but they're on basically opposite ends of where the CSS would be. And so just to save space, I'm going to do one CSS style block. Do you want a comment referencing that this is also the format for these images that you're going to see in column 2, which is much farther down the line?
Yeah, that would be helpful. That would be helpful because then when I read your page, I can easily tell exactly what this rule is, how it's affecting everything on your page, not just the icons on the left-hand side. So as long as you wrote a comment there explaining, oh, this is for all the icons on the left and right, then I know, okay, you're organized. You're not guessing if this is going to affect just some of the icons on the page. So yes, that's a good rule. I mean, that's the first time anyone's asked, but I'm glad you did, because that's generally a good rule. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure, because that was on one of our assignment things where you could, the icons are all the same size, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's a good comment. Exactly. Make it descriptive for someone that may have never worked with you, that they could read your code and decipher what's the purpose of every rule, every tag that you've created. Why are they in this particular order, and what's the specific rule affecting on the page, and why is it positioned at this place in the CSS rather than at the bottom or the top? So let's just keep everything nicely organized like that, even with comments. Yes. So lastly, we are going to check that your representation of the wireframe is using consistent color schemes. Okay, I'm not looking for exact colors. You don't have to exact pixel as the wireframe color scheme that we'd give you. But if your color is if you're using, for example, let's say the theme of the wireframe they give you is green header, green buttons, etc. If you're using different shades of green than the green that we would see on the wireframe, but they're not a consistent green on your page, then you would miss this point. We want to see that you're using consistent colors. It's not looking like a rainbow theme. So we want to see consistent color theme. All right, element spacing and styling to use best practices. So that means we are not using float. We haven't explained what float is because I don't want you guys to use it. Don't use float. Don't use position. Don't abuse it, either relative or absolute. Okay. You may have a section on your exam where it says you may use position relative or absolute or fixed for the cookies pop up at the bottom of the page. So there may be an appropriate use for it. Just don't over abuse it. Okay, now, lastly, 3 more rules. We're going to check, this is the whole point. We check that you had linked your CSS. No, wait, it says apply appropriate styling through the CSS to text. So we're just going to check that you used the proper, that you targeted your CSS properly. You used classes, and that you targeted your classes by their names, and that you used flex to style them, the different elements, okay? And then lastly, CSS, we're going to check to see that you linked a CSS page. One whole point for just linking your CSS to your HTML, okay? Easy point. And now, lastly, we have the 3 JavaScript questions. This is for a 2.5. So as you can see, if you got a perfect score on everything above, but you missed these JavaScript questions, then you still wouldn't have passed because you would have earned a 7.5. You need an 8 to pass. So you need to complete at least 1 JavaScript feature. So you can see here they're weighted 0.5, 1.25, and then 2.5 points for getting all 3. 1.25 if you get 2. So you're going to have to check yourself when you're running low on time. Did I complete all the JavaScript questions that I can, even if my page is incomplete? So make sure you would have done that, okay? You're going to need at least 1 JavaScript question. Okay, and you have the rubric in front of you here if you need to access it. You can use this while working on your assignments until tomorrow. So let's keep this rubric in mind now. Okay, I'm going over this rubric when I'm doing your code reviews as well. Not so harshly, but I'm keeping a lot of these rules in mind whenever I'm doing your code review.
So what type of questions will we be receiving for the JavaScript segment of our exam?
They may be different depending on the version of the test I give. Every new test attempt will be a new version of the test. So they may be any 3 of the JavaScript rules that we would have introduced to you. Maybe making an alert pop up, or maybe making something from a select dropdown appear as a alert on the page, or making something that you search alert on a page when you click the button, or increasing likes as you click something, or it could be removing something when you click OK. Maybe remove the cookie section when you click OK. So there's lots of different options. There's going to be only 3 per test. And depending on what test version you get is what they're going to ask you to do.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Adding on to that, adding on to the JavaScript, would we be marked down if if the function that we created is like unnecessarily complicated? Like,
No, we're not grading JavaScript in how you wrote your JavaScript, just that it's working. Just want to see that your JavaScript is working. So if your JavaScript looks messy and you have all these things, as long as the result on the page is the same and it's doing the function we want to see it do, then it's okay. I'll comment on your JavaScript and tell you, hey, you don't need that, but I'm not going to dock you points on your test for messy JavaScript.
okay.
Good question. Okay, any other questions, guys? Nope. Okay, then let's continue on. All right, so just a few more things we want to advise you how to ask for help. Again, you can just message us on Discord at my name, at Vincent's name. And if David's there, then you can target David as well. I need help in room X, and we'll react to your message, send you like a thumbs up or something, whatever we want to let you know that we saw your message. If we don't go there right away and you get that reaction, that means you're on our list. We're going to get to you next. Okay. When asking a question, don't worry about if we can answer or not. Let us decide. Okay. If we can help you, then we will. We'd be glad to help you. But if it's too much that you're asking, then we'll let you know as well. But maybe we can direct you to a place where you can find out. All right. Use the 20-minute rule when you're taking your exam. Don't ask cohort mates though. Okay. So not that part. But when you're working on a detail and you can't get it to work, think, am I getting the big picture here? Am I spending too much time on this small detail? And am I wasting time on this little piece when I can make the whole entire machine work instead of just a little component that's optional? Okay, so get the big picture, move on if you're getting stuck on something, even when you're waiting for help. Okay. All right, and about to get the exam. All right, so when you open up the dashboard, you click the learn link, and then you click take exam, then you open up and enter the exam. That's how you'll get it started. All right, we already talked about this stuff. All right, and we need to talk about plagiarism. If you plagiarize, you'll be expelled. That's it. Okay, that means if you jump in someone else's room or someone else comes into your room and I see that you guys are discussing how to do something, you'll both be expelled. So make sure no one comes into your room and that you don't go in someone else's room because we take plagiarism very seriously. So that also means you're not grabbing, if somehow you found the exam code online and you use it, and we suspect it and we find out, you'll be expelled as well. Okay, so don't search for it. You're only shorting yourself if you use a shortcut. Don't do that. Okay, so this is a solo exam, as we've been saying. You can use your past assignments if you need help with trying to figure out how you did something. You can use the code that we've ever posted on GitHub. Can use anything that you find online that you find will make something work. So these are available. Google, W3 Schools, Stack Overflow, websites like these. You can go to your own notes, you can go to my lecture code, and you can go to your own code. But don't use someone else's exam help code, okay?
Hey, can you put your I guess the GitHub lecture code in the chat?
It's in the calendar. So if you go here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Coding Dojo, more Coding Dojo rules on plagiarism. You'll be expelled and you'll get academic probation. And in the industry, if you plagiarize, you get lawsuits. So don't do that now, or don't do it when you're in the industry. Okay, so prove to yourself, prove to others, to your cohort mates, that you can code. All right, now some general tips: get some sleep, take breaks from your computer when you need to. Sometimes you don't see the little bug because you've been staring at the screen for too long, and if you just step away for a few minutes, go outside, come back, you'll see the error plain as day right in front of your face. It happens all the time. So if you feel like you're getting frustrated and you want to, punch a hole through your computer screen, take a break. All right, everything you need to know for your exam has been in your assignments. So don't feel like we're going to catch you off guard. Everything you need to know has been in your assignments and is in the platform. Everything that we're asking you to do on the exam is somewhere in the platform. Don't watch the clock religiously. Set a timer somehow through your phone or whatever device you have for halfway through 5 hours and then 3/4 through. And then even if you feel like you're going to cut it close, set a timer for that 15 minutes or 10 minutes you have left. That's what this rule is going to explain. All right, don't panic because it's just an exam. It's like a big assignment, okay? Big assignment with the timer on it. Don't forget to ask for help if you get stuck, okay? Don't get stuck for too long on a single detail of your exam. Set up your project folder ahead of time. This will save you that mental stress of having to do something really trivial. You can go straight to coding instead of creating files and folders and checking if they're connected. If you don't do this, if you don't check beforehand that they're connected, then you'll run into a bug and you only did it to yourself. Okay, so make sure that your files are properly named. I said that. And redoing your core assignments is a good way to practice. I'll point you to some practice assignments, and I'll also share this demo that I'm going to do this morning. Actually, I think we've run out of time. So we've run out of time for this lecture. So we'll break up and go to your assignments. And this afternoon, I'll do this demo. So let me introduce what it is. All right, so I have this view.
You're just sharing the unlock your exam page. I
Oh,
don't know if
I
you're
was
sharing
sharing-
anything else.
Whoops, I meant to share my screen. I didn't know I was sharing just a window. Thank you, Vincent. Okay, well, I was explaining these rules, but you'll see these rules here. I'm going to push this to GitHub as well, so you can reread these as well as watch this recording if you need to understand the rules here. Okay, so everything I was reading, I got from this document that I will push to GitHub as well for today. Okay, so today I'm going to be going over a practice exam in the afternoon lecture, and I'll be sharing this with you guys as well. You can take a 5-hour practice exam test if you want to, if you have the time this afternoon, set a 5-hour timer and see how well you can do this page. Okay, so this is something like the exam that this would look like a wireframe for the exam. Okay, so we have a header here, we have 2 headers, we have a main section, and there's these 2 columns. And we have a couple of JavaScript features. When you click join, it will remove the button. When you click the up arrows, it will increase the votes for each post, or I can decrease the votes as well. Actually, that's not defined, but I should be able to do that right away after making the up arrows increase the votes. And the third JavaScript feature is that when I click a go button, the alert will pop up with something saying like the searching for Python. And it will show the value that I put in the text. So if I said in the value Python, it will say, when I click go, an alert will pop up and say searching for Python. So this is an example of an exam. This is not going to be an exam option. I'm just going to work with this wireframe to show you guys how I would attempt the exam, and I'm going to only have 1 hour this afternoon. So how far I can get in an hour, I think I can build at least the basic structure of everything. Filling in the details, I think I only get as far as the nav bar. Okay, I'll probably need another 30 minutes to an hour to complete all this section here with all the details, like this comments and button area. I don't like to go too fast for demonstrations when I'm coding because you guys might just miss if I'm just coding without talking. So I have to explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it and answer questions. So I'll probably only have the chance to get past this nav bar section, but I'll have this area built, just not filled in. Okay, so that's probably as far as I'll get this afternoon. But I will share these images with you, and you can test yourself to see how far you can get in 5 hours if you have the energy. Okay, don't burn yourself out before tomorrow because you need your brain for tomorrow. So don't burn yourself out. But here's a practice exam that you can use, and I'll share this as well on the GitHub, so you can get a hold of this through GitHub as well. And all the icons for the exam will be provided here. So they'll be provided for you in the exam as well. You don't have to do a Google search for all these icons. They're the arrows, the little images, the cat images, and stuff like that. Okay. Oh, another major rule for the exam, and I'll have to repeat this a couple times because I'll notice that some of you won't follow it. When I give the exam and you unlock it, you'll see a wireframe that looks like this. And then you'll also see another example of the page. You'll see someone recreated a live version and made a little GIF of it on the bottom, or GIF, whatever you understand it. GIF at the bottom of the page, and it's going to have someone clicking through the buttons to show you what the JavaScript should do. All right, you want to follow that exact thing instead. No, sorry, excuse me. You want to follow the wireframe more than that little GIF, okay? If the GIF has a view of the wireframe that's slightly different, ignore that, okay? When it comes to, do I follow this view of the page or the of the image of the little video moving image, the GIF, you're going to want to follow this here, the wireframe that looks like this, this style. Okay, so use this style when you unlock the exam, not the GIF, when you're thinking of how to arrange the divs, how they should look. Okay, hopefully that's not too confusing. Do we have any questions so far?
So, and when you say with the GIF, you say use the wireframe?
Yes, this here that I'm showing is the wireframe. Okay, it's the blueprint. It's not moving. It's just a static image. There will be a GIF at the bottom as well that shows how an example of how the JavaScript should look. Right? It's not going to just give you words like this. In addition to showing you these sticky notes that explain what the JavaScript rules should be, there's going to be a GIF that does what the JavaScript rules should be. Someone will be clicking through the different buttons, and you'll notice there's a slightly different layout. There's a slightly different layout in the GIF. When trying to code, follow the layout of the wireframe if it differs from the layout in the GIF. But the GIF will show you what the JavaScript features will do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't mind repeating questions, so ask away if you have one. Now's the time to ask about the exam.
You also don't need to create that little gray URL section at the top.
Oh, thank you.
I know there's been a time where students tried to recreate that very, very top portion.
Yes. Yeah. Don't see you. Thank you, Vincent. This area here, that you should assume is your browser. Okay. This area here is your browser. It is not the wireframe. We're giving you this as a context. This is already built in your browser, right? You have a home, you have a refresh, you have a go back and forward in your history view arrows. So you have these. don't build this area here. This is assumed that this is your browser. This here, the content within, is what you want to follow. So don't waste your time building a browser view. You already have that. It's assumed that this is what that is. Okay, good point, Vincent. And anything else I should mention? Nope, I think that's it. All right. So what we're going to do is break out into our normal rooms. We'll have times to work on our assignments that we may have need to catch up on, or if you have caught up, we have practice assignments today: styling, button up, and plotting your blocks. So if you haven't done plotting, whoops, I'm on the wrong Tuesday. We are doing Dojo Weather, Making Connections, and Dojo Pizzeria. So that's the end of the day goal. Okay, Dojo Weather, that's a good practice assignment for the test. Making Connections, that's a good practice assignment for the test. And Dojo Pizzeria, that is a JavaScript related assignment. It's a practice assignment. It's not so related to your test, so you don't need to emphasize this one if you don't feel like you have enough time to study for the test. So Dojo Pizzeria is not something you need to study if you're worried about passing the exam tomorrow.
Josh, Shannon pointed out earlier that the likes is due tonight, but it's not there on the
Oh, is it not here? Okay.
but it's on the assignment checklist.
Okay. Yep, I'll create a link to likes here. Sorry for it not being here. I didn't notice that. So I'll fix that now. So finish likes as well. Okay, so let's look at that likes assignment. Here it is. So the version 1, you have to make it increase like every time you click a button. Version 2, make this layout where each button on each section increases the like for that section, for the like in this area, not for any of the other likes. So you have to make 3 individual like buttons. Okay, so this is due. It's a core assignment due today. So I'll add this to the calendar, and yep, I think you guys will do just fine. I've been seeing your guys' code reviews so far, and I think they're great. So for those doing the code reviews, be mindful to make it on time. We will do, let's see here. How come it's not going to the review section? I think it's lagging out. My click isn't working. There we are. Okay. All right, so group Tuesday, we have a big group for 3 and a smaller group at 4. Okay, that's fine. All right, so thank you guys for signing up for those. Let's end this lecture session and start working on our assignments. So let's stop the recording.